Hello, I'm Lee Carroll. It's traditional that I would be part of this meeting, and I have been every single year. This time I'm going to be part of it in a different way, because my corporeal body is currently in South America somewhere. I can't tell you where it is at the moment because I haven't really looked hard to see where I'm going to be. But I'm here, and so I'm here with you in you might say, a quantum way, since I feel your presence. I've been to the meetings many times. I know the energy that is present. And we're going to channel, and that is the purpose of this particular recording that I promised Todd that I would do. It seems that the few times that we get together, whether it's in Sedona or Shasta or in San Diego or perhaps even in Hawaii, that Kryon gives messages of hope and love and also of physics. Kryon kind of has a license, I would say, to do physics. Last time we got together like this was in Sedona, Arizona, and Kryon actually asked Todd questions. And his batteries failed in his microphone a few times. We had a good time. Now, we're not going to be able to do quite that this time, but still, I know that Kryon will come up to the expectations and talk about things that we're all interested in. So, let us begin, please. You get into a meditative mode, a position that is comfortable. Open your hearts, open your minds, and we will begin. Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. And so the circumstances would be odd. For my partner sits in that which he calls his home, and he speaks seemingly to the walls, for there is nothing here. My partner has said something about channeling which has been of interest to some, that in his particular case, in his process, he cannot channel unless there is someone there. He's never been able to sit in the chair and channel for himself, for instance. There must be someone there. And there is. There's you. And you would then separate this time with a clock. For you have no idea when this particular recording in 3 dimensions, 4 actually, was done. All you know is that you're there and I am here. And this is what I know as well. For you break down that which is a 3-dimensional paradigm of time, which actually is only your perception of it. You know, time is time. It doesn't care how you perceive it. It's always what it is. Physics is physics, and doesn't change simply because you perceive it one way or the other. And that is basically what we're going to speak of today. But right now, look at this. The paradigm that separates us doesn't really separate us. Now, I know who is there. I know the potentials of those who would sit in the chair, even though some of you have not yet made your reservation in my partner's perception. In mine, you are sitting there, and we are together. We are very together. And so you suspend the belief for just a moment of these things, and you allow for a dispensation of logic, of your paradigm that would push the envelope and allow you to sail into that realm which is multidimensional. These are interesting energies on the planet. The last channels we have given have been about those energies, how it is shifting and changing. The energy which is most prevalently different is what I will call the support energy. That is to say, the things that you are doing and that perhaps you have done for a very long time are now getting results. The tools that you have always had are sharp. And yet that energy that you put forth sometimes falls in a place where nothing grows. And that is because what is around you must be fertile. And it is. The energy begins to shift gradually. The earth sees it, you see it. You can look at your news and see it. All of these things add up to something very special when it comes to those who are old souls. The souls in front of you and me. The ones sitting beside you, behind you. You all have something in common, and that is to say, you sit in a room and you're interested in yourselves, in the multidimensional parts and the higher parts. And that interest in the past may have been curious. The interest in the past may have been something that you have asked many times to have developed into manifestation. And now it is time. For those things now on the earth are beginning to respond to you in ways you have never thought possible. Synchronicity, the things that you're going to face, the things that may happen in your lives in order to build the building that you have been trying to build of light, of abundance, of purpose. Truly, that time is here. The things that will build the fastest are wisdom and compassion. The two of these together are the things that make a light worker strong. It builds a light which is stronger, as we use this metaphor, so that you can walk into darker places and not feel them. And some of you already know this. And so here we are in a time that is not only special, but we sit in the science that is also changing. And it is time to reveal even more about those changes and some things about quantum physics which are not that difficult to explain, but which my partner, as I say the words and he sees the revelations, says, "Oh no, not again." It's all right, my partner, we'll go easy. There are many things that we could describe to you that you're working on now. There is a ball rolling forward dramatically that has taken a year. This ball that is rolling forward is that which is a meeting, the culmination of 26,000 years, and it's coming in a year. And there's not going to be a cast of thousands. There will be those who should be there, and they will be, and those who are ready to sit and have the chills of the revelation of what they're doing. And some will weep with joy, and others will sing and make the sounds that they are trained to make, and the tears will flow down their eyes and their cheeks and drop upon the floor, and sometimes that floor represents just a few inches above the very dirt that represents Lemuria. And the emotions will come from what you're doing. And we described that in Sedona. For the pineal is more than it appears. It is communication. When used alone, and can be easily, by the human being is actually creating a quantum bridge that is between the corporeal self and the higher self. That is the only way you can reach out and touch that part of you, which is the Creator. The bridge is one that is difficult, if not impossible, to understand and explain, for it is not in your reality, and yet you do it. You're doing it because that which is intuitive and the creative part of you is putting together the building blocks which allow that bridge to exist. Now, we have channeled just recently that you cannot look at these things in a linear fashion. They must be totally conceptual. So I will turn to some physics, and then I'm going to tell you some other things that are happening. The pineal tones, as we have described to you, when sung together by different human beings, and that requires, of course, more than one, creates another energy, a third energy, which acts as a transmitter and a receiver. Put together, it becomes a quantum transmitter, a quantum receiver. When enough human beings are together, giving the tones that Yah-E has selected that will go together, it is almost like fine-tuning quantum frequencies. And by the way, does it occur to anyone that this is what Todd has been doing for a decade? For the laser invention is a quantum device. And what he is doing with it is fine-tuning quantum frequencies that then talk to the cellular structure. Imbued into chemistry, it stays there. The shelf life, the attributes themselves of some of those chemicals that are placed into the pills is not the shelf life of the quantum attributes. It is the shelf life of the chemistry effectiveness. Do you ever think about that? It stays forever, for it's quantum. It knows not 3 dimensions. It does not respond to the law of the inverse square. It doesn't care how far away it is from you. Once it touches that, which is your intent and inside your body, it stays. It stays. Interesting it is not, perhaps to some of you who are not interested in science, but I believe that the subject will turn in a moment that will interest even those of you who did not come for science. But let us stay on course. And so you have a quantum effect that is created from 2 tones together, which fine-tunes a transmitter of sorts into a puzzle. You might say that the quantum pieces, and there are 12, are put together like you would the human Merkaba. And if you've studied it and its shape, and you know what is involved, you are actually building something similar in a quantum way that I cannot explain to you, for it is totally conceptual. You cannot even draw it. 1 tone, 2 tones sung together is like the foundation of a quantum structure. And here come the second set, and the third, and the fourth, and the fifth. And they come together, and the building starts to be built. At the opening of the 12th set of tones, the building is finished. And in that moment that they begun to be sung, the signal is sent. And that signal, we have told you before, is in an entangled state from Lemuria to the 7 sisters, to the Pleiadian energies which gave you that seed, which planted in your DNA all that is Pleiadian. There are many Lemurians who will be at that place, remembering what this was like. For this has been done before, and you're simply doing it again. But the earth has not seen it for 26,000 years. And so there are those who will say, well, what is going to happen, really, when the 12 come together as the tones and are sung as 24 in the pairs that Yah-E will select? What is the energy, and what can we expect? And I will tell you what you can expect. You can expect emotion. For you don't have to wait for an answer. And the transmitter becomes the receiver. And all of you will know as you sit in those chairs, if you are at that place in what you call Maui, you will know that you are now receiving. And so the instructions go out to Yah-E in the protocol and the procedure that I have given him before and yet again, that after the 12 pairs are sung, that there would be a time when you would sit and you would listen. And there would be a time when you sit and you receive and nothing has to be said Nothing has to be sung. And at that point in time, I will be there, and something will be said. And from the other side of the veil, yet again, I will come. But there will be an alliance you don't expect. And now here's where it gets good. Go slow, my partner. In 3D, you have time. In this time of yours, distance passes. We don't have that. Our concept is always in the now, for the multidimensional God that speaks through me is quantum. That is to say, there is no time. And so waiting is not a concept we have. That is what you have. The clock ticks for you and not for us. We are always here, for we are in a quantum state. Difficult for me to explain and for my partner to relate to you, but that which you see as 26,000 years to us is now. And so we don't have the concept. We understand it. We see you go through it. And truly, we understand what you go through, but we don't go through it. Now, you might say, isn't that interesting that God has the attribute of quantumness? Oh, yes. Isn't it, though? And what about the energy of this planet and what your science is discovering? For they are on the edge of creating their own quantum states. Slowly. There have been those put together different kinds of entanglement. Now let us speak of that for a moment, for we've said it now 2 times. And we wish to tell you about what it is and what it means in the simplest form we can. In the smallest of the small, at the atomic level, you are looking at attributes of quantumness that are not recognizable as a reality that you could live in. For time is suspended, things are locked together in ways that you cannot understand or explain. Things can be in 2 places at once. There is physical awareness of fields of the human being, for that human is quantum as well. One of the things that we have told you before is that you have a quantum field around your DNA. Therefore, you actually also affect the spin of atomic structure wherever you walk. You posture things which are quantum. What we have not discussed all that much is that quantum field around you and your DNA is modulatable by your consciousness. That is to say, although everyone has a field, you assume they're all the same, and they're not. It depends upon what you're doing inside. And that is where it gets good again. For the light worker is tuned to the universe. And that means that as you sit here, you understand more of these things than someone who perhaps was not tuned to the universe. And it affects that which is around you. For instance, Gaia, which also is quantum. After all, Gaia has a magnetic field, which is quantum, has a gravitational field, which is quantum. You have that field around you, which is quantum. You're beginning to get together. And as you get together, it affects you and you affect it. But the tools of enhancement for your work are then easier to accomplish. Again, like a key in a lock. As you manifest what you believe to be your reality is, the tools are better. Now, entanglement. Let us speak of what it is. My partner oversimplified it, for entanglement is not when you're one with everything. Entanglement is when you're locked in a space with something else. Now this is difficult, and I will just make it extremely simple. You are locked into a reality that is in the same atomic space that something else is also in. It is so much locked together that you are simply one with it. It cannot be cut from you. You cannot put it in parts, for you were one with it. Very difficult for this to be explained to you, for there is nothing like this in 3 dimensions, nothing at all. But I will then give you this simple explanation so that you could imagine, if you want, what it would be like to be able to extend the quantumness of the very small to the macro. That is to say, to the very large, which would include the human being. What if you had the ability, either through technology or consciousness, to lock your reality with something else? What would it be that you would lock it to? Well, the invitation for 22 years is for you to build that bridge and lock your reality to your higher self. And in the process of doing that, you become divine. And then in the process of that, at 100%, you ascend. For once you have locked to the divine, you become part of God. And you have the attribute that Elijah did. For that's exactly what he did. He became one with the divine part of himself and stepped away from the earth in a flash of light. Now, there are very, very many steps to this. And that is to say that it doesn't happen or not happen. It's not like digital where either it's there or it is not. It is a gradual, very gradual process. The masters who walked the earth all had quantum locking. They all had a reality that was locked to that part of themselves that was their divinity. And they walked as much as they could with that divinity while staying on the planet and functioning. And that is the invitation and always has for you. A long time ago, dear ones, a very long time ago for you, on a planet around one of the 7 sisters, there was an attribute, and we called it the only planet of free choice. The planet which is nameless and will be nameless had on it those like you. And they went through shifts. And they went through thousands and thousands of years, and there were wars. And slowly they did the unthinkable. They came together, planted the seeds of unity. 1,000 years went by. Pretty soon they had no more wars. Pretty soon their technology increased. They did not overpopulate themselves because they were smart, because they were wise, just like you are smart and wise. They did not overuse the resources of their planet, for their technology showed them how to use things which were free. But their planet is much like yours, though there are some major differences, but not all that much for you. And what I want to tell you is that when it was time for their ascension status, they became entangled with something, and I will tell you what it is. By choice, they became entangled with the earth. So that is to say that their arrival here has 2 interesting aspects that I've not talked about. The first is that they live in a quantum energy. There is no time for them. And because there is no time for them, dear ones, they don't die. They don't die. Yahweh's talked about extending your life. He's actually used the words, live forever. He's right. And that is not what's going to happen here immediately. And if it were ever to happen, other things take place as well that posture the reality. You're no longer in 3D, and neither is their planet. And you ask all manner of 3D questions about the Pleiadians. Even as I am talking to you now, your mind is going, isn't it not? Well, what about their birth rate? If they all live forever, and their children live forever, it's going to be awfully crowded, isn't it? There is an answer you would not believe. the reality changes to the extent that perhaps birth is not the same as you think, and perhaps it's not even corporeal, and perhaps it's not physical, and perhaps you can put 1,000,000 of them on the head of a pin. Perhaps. All very quantum. It is not in your reality. You cannot figure it out. So let me speak of the Pleiadian who became one with Earth. They came and they set themselves up and they changed your DNA and they stayed. And so those that are here have always been here. They are also at their planet at the same time they are here. Difficult to explain, but they are. This is the entanglement. This is the locking of reality. You have Pleiadian DNA. All of you. You are locked with them. And when they were finished, they stepped back and became invisible and put themselves in quantum areas on the planet, 2 of which you are aware of, and there are many more. My partner revealed a 3rd to you. You have Hawaii, where Lemuria was, the longest lasting civilization of one consciousness that has ever existed on the planet. Because it was isolated, it was in graduate status, and there was long life there. Later duplicated in what you call Atlantis for a time. Only for a time. Nothing like Lemuria. We've told you it is in Mount Shasta, for they chose that as a divine place to set a city. It's not a city that you would say is a city, but it is called that because you have no other concept for it, a grouping. And there they waited. Now, we have told you that in a quantum state, time does not exist as it does for you. Therefore, they're not impatient, for that was yesterday for them. And they waited for something to happen. They watched the waves of humanity. Even with Pleiadian DNA, human beings had that which is free choice. Even though they had the divine inside, every single human being could ignore it, and most have, until now. And now I sit among you. And you are certainly aware, are you not, of the energy that is developing in this room? Could it be that they're even here? And the answer is yes. They have known of the work of Yai since the beginning. The first time he turned on the laser with a holographic filter and created that time reverse, everything lit up for them. And they knew it was only a matter of time before the tones would then come, and you would announce to them that you had made it. And in the process of announcing your arrival, to start the seeds of peace on this planet, they would be informed of it. And why would they be? And what is the purpose? They're still here. They are in the secret places in the island of Kauai. They are in the secret places in the mountain of Shasta. They are at Uluru. They are in New Zealand, and there's more. For they seeded the entire earth, not just one place. And all will ring together on that day. And you will know it, and you will feel it. And you will say, well, what is going to happen? And I'll tell you what will happen is that now you're going to have even grander and greater help than you've ever had before. And you will leave that island and know that there has been a shift and a change. Not doom and gloom, not tragedy. All of those things are mythology created by those on the planet who wish to benefit by negative and dramatic things. And you will be in the middle of a celebration like no other. Like no other. Be prepared for your eyes to leak. For there will be great appreciation. when the signal is sent. And you won't be able to take it back. Oh, listen, human beings have free choice, but once a consciousness ball is rolling, it's really hard to stop it. And when love and light is behind it, it's hard to stop it. And so this particular channeling, not just about physics, not just about love, but mainly about that energy which locks together things in one reality state. How would you like to lock together with that which is inside of you, which is Pleiadian, which is divine? Looking at the layers now, the pieces and parts of DNA given to you long ago, which is a portal, all of them, to my side of the veil. It is what we teach. You cannot separate spiritual and corporeal anymore. There was a time when we would talk about the three-dimensional parts of DNA and the quantum parts of DNA, and they are beginning to merge. The instructions in the 90% that are quantum are active, and they're starting to give other kinds of instructions to that which are protein encoded. Those instructions are for longer life. Those instructions are for faster healing. There are healers in this room who have expected this shift, and you're here for it. I would like to tell you right now, no matter how old you are, you are not finished on this planet. For when you see me again in a few years, you're going to turn right around and come back, and you will be the forerunners of those who may even do this again for another planet. Do you see the cycle? For this is the only planet of free choice. And when the choice is made to become divine and you reach ascension status, you'll pass it to someone else. And then they will have mythology about you and arguments about you. Do you exist? Do you not exist? Did you help them? Did you not help them? And you can sit back and just smile and watch them go through what you have gone through. It is cyclical, like everything else, and there's reasoning behind it, and it is filled with compassion, appropriateness, love, all of the things that you might expect. So this is the message of the day. Entanglement is part of the reason the Pleiadians are still here. They do not step forward, but they watch. But when the signal goes out, they'll help. And that's going to be the biggest thing that differentiates the old and the new energy. The bridge of swords, the bridge between the Pleiadians and you begins. The swords are in celebration, like a wedding, which is just exactly what it is. And so that is the message that I have for you in this astute group, one that is recorded for you only, for you only, for now. Leave this place differently than you came, knowing some things perhaps you did not know before. Grand they are. Think about it. A new paradigm is afoot. And so it is.